This is Nottoway County Board of Supervisors special meeting, May 22nd, 2025, 7 p.m. I'd like to call it into session. Ms. Norton, would you do the invocation for us?
Yes, sir. Let us go to the Father. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings upon this evening. We ask you to provide calm hearts, open minds, open ears, as we discuss a vitally important, critically important matter of this county, and that's emergency services and fire and rescue. Lord, we just ask your guide upon us, as this is a difficult task. And Lord, we just ask you to be with the family of Willie Foote in their loss.
Yes, Lord.
And Lord, I just thank you for your many blessings. In your Son Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we've got an agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve that agenda or make amendments?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, on the next on the agenda, we want to put this before we open up the public hearing, if you don't mind. As you can see, and I didn't have that in front of you when we had done a work session on the 6-year plan, and then I didn't have that in front of you the other night, and we did not actually vote for the 6-year plan. I think what we ended up doing was close the public hearing, and so that I'll take full responsibility on that. So what I'm asking y'all to do is go ahead and approve that 6-year plan, and these are the exact same numbers that you agreed on at the work session that was done in April.
All right. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the secondary 6-year plan.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Next, we've got a public hearing, fiscal year 2026 budget.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to yield to Ms. Logan Presley, please.
Good evening, board, members of the community. The 25-26 fiscal year budget is proposed at a total of $59,286,434. This is an increase of $7,112,259 from fiscal year 2025. To balance the fiscal year 26 budget, $983,672 of fund balance transfers are needed. That includes $410,647 from general fund, $429,576 for landfill fund, $55,449 for fire and EMS fund, and $88,000 for LRA fund. This is a decrease of $832,389 compared to fiscal year 25. The tax rates proposed for fiscal year 2026 are as follows. Real estate is at 48 cents per 100 valuation. Tangible personal property, with an exception of household and kitchen furniture and vehicles without motive power used as mobile homes, boats or other watercraft used for businesses or pleasure, is at $4.12 per 100 valuation. Fire fund on real estate is at 2 cents per 100 valuation. Fire fund on personal property is at 18 cents per 100 valuation. Emergency services fund on real estate is at 5 cents per 100 valuation. Emergency services fund on personal property is at 45 cents per 100 valuation. Mobile homes is at 48 cents per 100 valuation. Machinery and tools is at $1.35 per 100 valuation. General county purposes for merchant capital is at $0 per 100 valuation. Farm machinery, implements, or equipment is at $0 per 100 valuation. Motor vehicle specialty equipped to provide transportation for physically handicapped individuals is at $2.35 per 100 valuation. Aircraft is at $1 per 100 valuation. Emergency services volunteers is for one vehicle at $1 per 100 valuation. Major changes in revenue for fiscal year '26 is minerals decreased by $3,743. Machinery and tools increased by $30,000. Local sales tax increased by $25,000. Business license increased from $350,000 to $380,000, which is a $30,000 increase because we increased rates for those. Revenue use of money is increased from $350,000 to $450,000 because we are looking at gaining $100,000 in interest. Other categorical aid increased from $236,439 to $336,439 because we are getting a $100,000 VCBR state reimbursement that came from the state. The total local appropriation to schools is currently budgeted at $6,480,485.28. This consists of a required local effort and match at $6,161,775 and an ANTC contribution of $318,710.28. The ANTC contribution is $32,928.96 more than fiscal year '25. The average daily membership used for budgeting purposes for this fiscal year is 1,700. The landfill fund is balanced using a general fund transfer of $429,576. This is an increase of $88,105 from fiscal year '25. The primary change in revenue for the landfill is the communications tax. The communications tax money was voted by the Board of Supervisors to be moved from the moved to the E911 fund. Landfill tonnage pricing for dumping is increasing as of July 1 from $42 per ton to $55 per ton. There is a new fire and EMS fund being proposed in fiscal year '26 to produce $1,473,500 additional revenue to go towards fire, EMS, and the County Emergency Services Department. The balance of fire and EMS fund is a general fund transfer of $55,449 was needed. The new fund would be broken down as follows. Fire and EMS real estate tax is going to be at 7 cents per 100 for a total of $875,000. Fire and EMS personal property tax is going to be at 63 cents per 100 for a total of $598,500. The new fund will cover expenses for the following: the existing contributions to Blackstone Volunteer Fire Department, Crew Volunteer Fire Department, and Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department, each getting at $113,450 for equipment and operations. Contributions to Nottoway County Emergency Squad for $210,000 for equipment and operations. The contribution to Burkeville Rescue Squad for $95,050 for equipment and operations. And pass-through grant money from fire programs and for Life, which Blackstone Volunteer Firefighters get $16,400. So does Crew Volunteer Fire Department. Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department is at $15,000 for those grants, and Nottoway County Emergency Squad and Burkeville Volunteer Rescue Squad each get $5,600. Nottoway County Emergency Services Department is at $213,935. Contribution to Blackstone Volunteer Firefighters Department is at $5,000 for preventative maintenance for the aerial ladder truck. The new expenses with this fund is at $710,000 and is broken down for the Town of Blackstone Fire Training Facility at $10,000. And the additional contributions to Nottoway County Emergency Squad at $500,000 and Burkeville Rescue Squad at $200,000. Major budget expense changes. The largest increase for fiscal year '26 expenses outside of the fire and EMS is due to personnel, which is resulting in an approximate $572,000 increase. The personnel changes are based on 3% minimum base salary increases and a 1.5% salary bonus for constitutional offices departments that the state is passing on. 1.5% salary bonus for full-time county employees. Additional state-supported 6% minimum base salary increases for dispatch positions. A new dispatch supervisor position. State-supported Commonwealth Attorney Assistant position, and a deputy clerk position. Increased health insurance contributions for the employees. Personnel benefits to include FICA, Social Security, VRS, and group life. In the departments, the Board of Supervisors Department, there is an increase of $15,079 for internet/data service for BAI.net usage. There is a decrease of $2,000 in the discretionary fund. There is also a $3,092 decrease for workman's compensation insurance. The county administrator's budget, it has been decreased by $5,000 for contracted services and also decreased by $4,000 for office supplies and furniture and fixtures. Legal services was decreased by $15,000 from FY25 to now. Professional services, the cost allocation plan is increased by $500. Professional services, which is legal, is increased by $2,000. Clerks, no, excuse me, it wasn't legal, that's auditing, sorry. Clerk's audit is increased by $1,000. Commissioner of Revenue's budget is increased for IT/data processing by $13,500, and that is also contributing to the BAI.net. As well as the Treasurer's Office IT/data processing is increased by $18,000 for the BAI.net. The Victim Witness Program has a grant stipend of $5,400. The Debt Service Department is increased by $515,000 for the radio project, $180,000 increase for the radio implementation, and it has been decreased by $80,304 for the school bond payments. The Correctional and Detention Departments has increased by $32,000 for Piedmont Regional Jail allocation. The General Properties Department has been increased by $3,000 for HVAC. Local Health Department allocation has been increased by $2,000. Mental Health Services has been increased by $33,811 for Crossroads Community Service allocations. The Public Administration, which is Department of Social Services, their travel was decreased by $6,000. Senior Services, which is Piedmont Senior Services Resources contribution, has been increased by $695. The Community College contribution for Southside Community College has decreased by $103. Recreation, Culture, and Transportation Department has been increased by $5,000 with Piedmont Veterans Council and Piedmont Habitat for Humanity each getting $2,500 apiece. The LRA budget, the facilities, repairs, and maintenance costs was decreased by the following: $10,000 in their Pickett General Property budget, $25,000 for lodge buildings, $5,000 for Officers Club Department, $5,000 for bowling alley, $2,000 for small business incubator, $5,000 for campground. The landfill budget, the leachate hauling and treatment has been decreased by $50,000. Contracted services has been decreased by $65,000, and vehicle fuel has been decreased by $28,000.
Mr. Chairman, can I get some rounded numbers here, if I may? I can't write that fast on a couple of things. The landfill budget, rounded off, roughly what is the landfill budget for the year? Is that $956,000?
Solid waste.
Yeah, solid waste.
It's $773,000.
It was 950 last year, John, sorry.
950, so it's about 770 now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and I had some people asking for clarification, and I don't want people thinking that they're paying more in taxes for something that they're not. The actual monies that come from the taxpayers in Nottoway County over to the school, what is that amount that the taxpayers are contributing in Nottoway to the schools?
That amount is,
6 million something?
yes, sir. I have to find it 1 second. It is $6,480,485.28.
All right, so I'll just round and say 6,400,000.
That's with ANTC contribution also.
Okay, so that's both ANTC and the school
sir.
system, okay. And for clarification also, emergency services, yes, that encompasses fire, rescue squad, and the sheriff's office when you talk as a whole. Just so we're clear, because I've got citizens that are asking, what are we gonna get in our sheriff's department for this fire and tax levy, because we also reference it as emergency services. To that extent, the sheriff has his own budget that we provide monies to.
Yes, sir.
This levy is to go to additionally support rescue squad in the fire departments. If the sheriff needs something, that request will come directly to the board, and the board would consider that and increase his budget, or if the sheriff wanted to decrease something, take something out, he would come to us and notify us, and then we could decrease his budget line. So this is not going to be monies going towards the sheriff's office for new cars, new equipment, new deputies, new school resource officers, or anything like that. The sheriff has his own budget line.
Yes, sir.
So, I just wanted to clear that up, because there's some people thinking that the drug task force is going to expand and this and that with this money and stuff like that. That is not what this tax levy is for. It does not include the police departments and the sheriff's office.
No,
So I
sir, it
just
does
want
not.
that to be clear for the citizens.
It does include our county's emergency services department, but he is also under the fire and EMS.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And then the only other question I had was what is the total tax increase per penny on the real estate that is going to the tax levy? What is that? Is that 2 cents on real estate? Is that correct?
So it's actually 2 cents for the fire and 5 cents for the EMS. So it's 7 altogether for real estate.
Oh, okay, all right. 7 real estate. All right, 7 cents. All right, and then on the personal property, because as I understood it, my mind's not exactly right these days, but I thought it was $1 increase on personal property.
It's a dollar increase with the general fund being the general taxes within the general fund being increased also, and then the 2 for the fire and EMS. So that makes up the $1 is there's 37 cents for the regular taxes within the general fund.
Okay.
And then 18 cents for the fire personal property and 45 cents for the EMS personal property.
All right, because that's the other thing I was a little bit confused about, because some of this looked like the fire departments weren't getting any money, that all of this was just kind of going to emergency squad.
No.
But there's 18 cents on personal property dedicated directly to the firefighters.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and 45.
2 cents on the real estate.
Yes, sir.
Those numbers changed a couple weeks ago, John?
Yes.
Right.
That's what moved from one side to the other.
Right, yeah, because I thought some of them were different, but I just want to get my mind wrapped around that. Okay, I think I'm done for now.
Okay, all right. And then before I turn it over to the public for speaking, Ms. Norton had asked staff for kind of like a synopsis of where we would be at if we did not increase taxes or do this levy within our general reserves. So currently, based off our June 30th, 2024 audit, our general fund unassigned fund balance, and if y'all would like to follow, we have a presentation over there. I'm sorry, forgot about that. The general fund unassigned fund balance was at $17,440,088. Then if you take out the landfill fund transfers that happened last year of $956,918, you were left with $16,483,170 left that's unassigned. This does not include our LRA. The landfill closure, if you take that out, which is at 8.2 million, you're left with $8,283,170 unassigned. If you take out the $1,622,411 for the FY25 transfers that were done, you're left with an estimated $6,660,759 unassigned balance as of June 30th, 2025. If we do not do the tax levy or the increases, which is estimated at a $3.1 million increase for this year, you're going to take, we left with next year at June 30th, 2026, at $3,560,759 left in our reserves. And then if you continue to go into the general fund to balance the budget in the next year with increases due to cost of living, any allocations, or any unforeseen expenses, you would look at approximately $3.7 million, so you're left in the negative by June 30th, 2027 in the reserves. You would have depleted your whole reserves.
Does this take into account the income that's being earned by our reserve?
This is based off of what we bottom lined with, so that showed all the revenue coming in and all the expenses going out
So
with
that,
our
that
audit.
revenue was declining as the
Yeah,
reserves were
that was-
leaving.
that
Yeah,
was-
you're using the reserves.
The one reason why it goes up to 3.7 in 27 is because you lose a lot of, we'll lose a lot of interest as those numbers go down,
And again, we stress,
at 4%.
this doesn't
That's about
factor
4%.
in if the state changes, they mandate raises or whatever. This doesn't factor in any new expenses. If we have a roof that leaks and we gotta spend $100,000 to fix it, it doesn't factor any of that in. And I've said this for the last 2 months, that the county is going to be broke. There it is in black and white.
Mr. Chairman, and y'all know it's going to be a good one when I say, can y'all humor me for 1 second here?
Okay.
All right, just so the citizens as well understand, as long as me, I'm not using the guys that the citizen wants to know, I want to know too, because I'm a citizen too. But anyway, nonetheless, who mandates, and I think we all know the answer to this, but who mandates that the county government, the county governing body, must tax to provide services like landfill, animal control, sheriff's department, school? Who forces the county to tax their people?
State code.
State code.
Constitution of Virginia.
That's right. So let me ask you this. How about the state come down here and tax these people? They want to force us to do this? I mean, they're going to get our judges to strike orders and force us to tax these people. Why don't the state come down here and do their dirty work?
They will if we don't.
If
If you don't think the state's already getting that fast share, you're wrong.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Now, they want us to continue to tax our citizens. This is a conservative county. We need to get back to some conservative values here. So with that being said, let's get it on.
Yes, I need the list.
Want a motion to open?
I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we've got 7 speakers, so we'll do 5 minutes. No problem.
I make a motion, we open a public hearing on the.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Ruby Harlan. Thank you, Ms. Harlan.
Thank you. Welcome back, Mr. Warwick.
Thank you, dear.
You've been in our prayers, and it's glad to see you here tonight.
I appreciate it, dear. Thank you for your prayers as well.
And for your comment that you just made a moment ago, you got my vote.
Thank you, dear.
Nottoway County citizens can no longer be a lending institution for the financial bond that our county leaders have put us in. Many citizens in this county are on fixed incomes. A lot of them struggling now to pay their light bill. What are they going to do when this is passed? The board wants to increase taxes to pay for the communication tower they were talked into knowing the finances were not available. How irresponsible is that? I guess they were hoping to be able to set up a PayPal account. The courthouse has been a sore subject for many years without resolution, always being tabled, further discussions, etc. All talk, no action, except for when they're mandated by the court to take care of it. Taxes were going to have to be raised anyway to cover the courthouse and different projects. Why not do it earlier than rather now and incorporate so much at one time? That's a sticker shock. The animal shelter does need to be addressed. The shelter does well for what it has. They take care of the animals and do the best they can and could do even better with a new shelter. The EMS, I want to say, is wonderful in this county. My family has had to use them several times, and they are the best. I want that to be known. Taxes to be increased for EMS. From what I was reading in the past, for several times, every time it was asked for information regarding their finances, they were not able to provide for it. And then again, when they were talking about finances, they need a little bit more money. We need to know where this money is going to. They need, before any funds are given to them, the citizens need to see where the expenses are going. Let's see a spreadsheet of some sort for the last 3 years. So far, the members of the board has only been able to argue, disagree, and form a committee to look into it. Did y'all ever find out anything from these committees? What we need criteria for our board members are common sense, ability to handle finances, not being gullible, and looking out for the welfare of the citizens of this county. These are the ones that put you in this position, and we can also take you out. Maybe after the mayor election, then we can receive names for new county board of supervisors. Why not just wait and have an election for both the mayor and for the county board of supervisors?
Mr. Chairman, can I address part of her concern there real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, about the committee, we just got that committee set last week, and we were actually working, me and Mr. Tove talked today, possibly about meeting on Memorial Day. We do have to check with Mr. Hyatt's availability, but we've contacted with the squad. So the 3 members from the county can meet with the 3 members of the squabble, and we're going to bring continual updates back for public transparency. So that'll be happening, if not Memorial Day, within a day or 2 after that. Now, Wednesdays are rough, but that's the tentative meet spot right now, just so you know, and we will definitely offer those reports to public. And we may even try to do something on our Facebook page instead of waiting to the monthly meeting. We may try to do something on our Facebook page to get that information out to the public as soon as we can. Okay? All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I address Ms. Harmon as well?
Yes.
I would like you to know that this entire board looked at their audits, the EMS. We sat down, we've reviewed the audits, we reviewed their numbers. And we were just as blindsided back a couple of months ago when they asked for $800,000. We didn't see it coming, they didn't tell us. So we have all been scrambling together with the help of Mr. Hyde to get as much information as we can. And then the committee is going to provide that information.
I'd like to address you too, ma'am. First, I appreciate you coming to speak to us tonight and showing your concern. I think each and every one of us have a great concern for the citizens of the community, but you are 100% right. The citizens put us on this board. You said the citizens could take us off. That is a very true statement, but we individually can remove ourselves at any time if we see fit. And that may be coming down the pipe, depending on how other things turn out for at least one of us that I've heard. So you're exactly right, and I appreciate that.
Stacy Pafford, did I say that correctly, ma'am? You did. Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good evening, County Administrator, Board of Supervisors. Good to see you. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you, dear.
Okay, so I'm going to speak really quickly because I was doing the figures myself. One thing I wanted to speak on was I know you guys said that the Code of Virginia requires you to tax us. I understand that, but they don't tell you how much to tax us, typically. So you have the ability to say no. You have the ability to go back to the books and say, let's tighten our budget. You know, let's do fundraisers. And I don't think anybody here would say anything negative about EMS and fire. We are appreciative of everything they do. That's not the thing. The thing is you can't get blood out of a turnip. If we don't have the money, we can't give you the money. And you all live in the community. You look around, you see the people that you work with every day. You know the way people are struggling with the economy. You know, there's a time when you just have to say, just like children, I know you want that money, but I can't give you all that money right now. I'm sorry.
That right there. Yes, ma'am.
And then you go to the community and you say, look, we told them no. Can you guys help with some fundraisers? And I'm sure people, I myself, will be willing to go out there and hold a boot to try to get money, whatever. But to get the money from us, I mean, we're already struggling. Everybody is already struggling. And you do have the ability to say no. Now, I want to break this down for you because the way that it was broken down earlier was 2 cents here, 18 cents there. But so we were paying 45 cents per $100. Now it's going to be 48 cents per $100. When you tack on the two, this is for real estate, excuse me. When you tack on the 2 cents, the 5 cents, now we're paying 55 cents per $100. That's a 10-cent hike. 10 cents doesn't sound like much, but let me break that down for you. So at the old rate, if you had a home valued at $100,000, who can buy a home for that now? We know that's not even a thing, but I'm throwing a number out there. If you had a home valued for $100,000 and you were paying $450 a year in the new tax rate, you're now paying $550. Now let's go to personal property taxes. Personal property taxes, we were paying $375 per $100. With the proposed hike of $412 per 100, when you add in that 18 and that 45 cent, it becomes $4.75 per 100. That's a $1 hike. $1, again, doesn't sound like much, but let me break that down. If you have a vehicle valued at $40,000, let's just throw that number out there. Vehicles are expensive. You were before paying $1,500 a year in taxes. You're going to now be paying $1,900 a year in taxes. That means you're going to be paying somebody $158 a month just to park your vehicle in Nottoway on land you're already paying taxes on. I just find that ridiculous. I mean, it's insane. That's just money that people don't have right now. When you break it down like that and you look, the 5 cent, the 2 cent, it kind of adds up. It's a lot more. And I will say the fact that this much of a hike is being proposed, I find it ridiculous. And I feel like, not to be disrespectful because I'm trying to word myself respectfully, I feel like you've lost touch with your constituents to want to put that much money on somebody at one time. And you can be voted out. And we do appreciate what you do. I know you guys don't get paid a ton to be on the Board of Supervisors. I know how this
$334 a month.
I know how this works, trust me. But on that other side, we trust you. We put you in this position because we trust you to make the right decisions for us. You're governing us because we trust you. So we're trusting you to say no. Let's go back to the board. Let's figure this out. Let's go back to our figures. Let's get the calculators out. Let's see where we can cut money. You know, 3 cents, if you would have hiked it by 3 cents, you probably would have had crickets in here. I mean, nobody's going to relook at 3 cents. But when you start looking at all this money, I'm surprised more people's not here. I think it's just because people don't watch the news. But all I'm asking you is just to go back to the board, see where you can tighten the belt, just like all the rest of America's doing. You know, I mean, this has went up like the cost of eggs. I don't know what people are going to do. I really don't. So please understand, everybody's struggling, and you do have the ability to say no. You have the ability to set the figures. You were put in this position for a reason. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address the young lady, please. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight at the position that we was put in. So you've got a service provided to Nottoway County citizens called EMS. And they approached the board and said, look, we don't have enough money. By the way, it's 95% paid, not volunteer. They're 95% paid staff on the emergency squad staff. We don't have enough money next month to make our payroll. People are not going to work for free. So what are you going to do to help us that we may be able to answer your 911 calls? What do you do?
Well, you do have volunteers, so you can't go back to the volunteers.
We don't.
We do not.
There's less than 5% volunteers on Nottoway Emergency Squad. A lot of people don't know that. In fact, I'd like to throw this out there because I had a phone call today from a really well-known lady in my district that said that she has making, in the past, large contributions to the Nottoway County Emergency Squad. She said that will stop. She will not make another dime. Since 2002, this lady didn't even know that it's not volunteer anymore. It's 95% paid. Had she'd have known that, she said, I'd have quit back in 2002. I thought I was helping them. So that's
I know
just a
it's
small
public, so
example.
Am I allowed to speak again? I'm sorry.
Sure,
Okay.
right, Mr. President? Public hearing?
So
It's not a
do
debate.
you know
As long
if
as
they
we're
hard
civil,
bill?
be
Do they
civil.
hard bill for the rescue squad?
That changed.
That July the
happened-
1st, that changes anyway because you're no longer responsible to pay your medical expense and they can't even turn it over to collection
Government
agents.
changed that mandate.
Okay, and so I was a 911 operator for 7 years, so let me just give you my background. And I know you do have emergency calls where they are really needed, but the majority of your calls is I've had a toothache for 2 weeks, can you take me to the ER?
We call them frequent
I
flyer.
have a headache, can you take me to, these people need to be billed. Why is us, who doesn't call the squad unless we actually need a squad, why are we paying for them to use it as an Uber?
I totally agree with you and they are billed, but the majority of them don't pay. If they don't have insurance, the majority of them do not pay.
Then maybe we need to look at putting, something on them, taking them to court and making
Can't
them
do
pay.
it. July the 1st, the law changed in the state of Virginia.
So
You
the
can't
Code of
collect it.
Virginia, with medical billing, goes towards the patient now. You can't put collections, you can't attach judgments. It won't show up on their credit report.
It won't even show up on their credit report. So what incentive do they have to pay? Other than the volunteer, not volunteer, the EMS taking a little bit longer next time to get there.
So,
It might just have to take a little bit longer with the cost of this. This is
I agree.
ridiculous. I'm
I
sorry.
totally
And I'll
agree
be
with you.
honest with you, I live in the country. If we have an actual emergency and I can get whoever it is in the car, we're just gonna drive to
That's what
Southside.
we've always done.
Yeah, because,
But the EMS has been mighty good to us, and they've been there when we need them, and we need them for the services of Nottoway, except for what you was talking about, the frequent flyers.
and we do need them, but not at this price. I'm sorry, not at this price. We
Ms.
don't need them.
Bradford, may I also interject
Yes,
that
ma'am.
a lot of people didn't, and I didn't either until this point, that our squad is a paid service now. And the Code of Virginia requires the county to provide 911 service. It doesn't mandate that the 501c3 provide the service. It mandates the county provide the service. And up until this point, the emergency squad has provided that service. It cost over $1 million to pay for one ambulance for 1 year. We need 3 on duty to cover the cost. And right now, we don't have that, so we're asking mutual aid to other counties, which increases the response time. And so those counties aren't covered when they're coming in to run a call here. But we are mandated to provide the service. And if we don't pay the money, a boot drive is not going to, it's all well and good, but it's not gonna generate $3 million.
And I'm guessing you guys have applied for grants to get some of these
There
EMS
are no
vehicles.
grants for this. Payroll is not covered by grants.
I was talking about the vehicles. You said you need 3 vehicles.
Well, no, I'm talking about.
She means 3 staff to
Just
be.
3
Okay,
staff.
I got you.
They got the vehicles, they don't have nobody to staff them.
Okay.
Each squad has 2 people or more on that squad, duty crew. So we have to provide that. And so far to this point, we're all reaching for revenue sources.
And
We're
we
at
have
this
cut the
point.
budget a whole lot
We did.
this year and last year.
And
A lot of
We
requests.
don't have a revenue stream. Previous boards never marketed us.
That
the
was
way
gonna be
we
my
should
question.
have
How did
been.
it hit all of a sudden? Like, where do we miss
They never
it?
marketed us to have a revenue stream from other sources. The state facilities here don't pay taxes. The people that work there, most of them don't even live here.
Gonna probably have more moving out at this tax rate, I'm seriously.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
And I will say one last thing. Several of us have gone to state meetings. This is a problem across the entire state of Virginia, across the entire United States of America. And like you said, we can't get blood out of a turnip, but if we don't pay this money, you're gonna call and nobody's gonna come.
That's the sad
the
part.
reality.
I'm like him, I rarely call. We just put them in a vehicle and go if we have to go. But that's beside the point. But like I said, you can say, you don't have to raise it this much. You could do a little at a time to just make it where people can inch towards it. It's opposed to saying, hey,
See that right there?
yeah, but it was 2027 when it runs out, right? So we got a little bit of time to play
And
with.
that doesn't even include the courthouse project at all.
So what she's telling you is your tax is probably gonna go up even more than that, and so is mine,
All right, we're going,
once we get to the
We'll move
courthouse.
along.
we're
Thank
going
you.
to move along. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
ma'am.
for speaking. Joe Schneff.
Mr. Chairman, while he comes up, would it be okay to invite all the people to stay so they can hopefully stay to hear our comments and everything after what they present to us?
Sure. I hope they would.
Yes, sir. Hey, Chief.
Hi, I'm Joey Schneff. I'm chief of the Crew Volunteer Fire Department. And just for a little, first of all, I'd like to thank the board for your support in the past and our working relationship. Just a point of clarification for the public. Air funding for the last several years has been level funded. We did not ask for an increase. The levy for the fire side, several items that were in the general fund got moved over to.
Chief, can you
tax-
pull that microphone a little closer to you?
Okay, how's that? All right, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but the tax levy for the fire side, several things that were in the general fund got moved over to the fire levy tax. As far as the actual money we're getting, it's level funding, so we're not actually getting an increase, just so the public knows that. And also, we are 100% volunteer,
That's speaking to crew fire.
crew fire. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Sonny Abbott.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Mr. Evans.
Let me begin by referencing material from 5/14/2024. It's a document that was put out by the county. And in this document, which is slightly different than what we heard just a little bit ago, suggests that at the end of the fiscal year, we would have a $3.522 million deficit. And then on page 7 of that document, it suggests that our projected June 30th, 2025 fund balance would be $1 million. Apparently, those numbers changed, at least based on what was said just a few minutes ago. Well, with 39 days remaining in the fiscal year, are these estimates accurate and correct? Have we projected the numbers after those 39 days, or will it take months into the new fiscal year before we know what the actual impact was for the current fiscal year? The fund balance at $1 million with what's projected in the current or proposed budget says we don't have one anymore. Now, what I'm about to present are math questions. First line item of the proposed budget for revenue shows $5.55 million. You're going to add $375,000 to that. That's 3 cents at $125,000 per. That yields $5,930,000. That's $45,000 less. That's what's on the document. Now let's focus just a little on fire and EMS. In the current budget, fire receives $393,150, and EMS receives $320,479, for a total of $713,629. That number does not include the $62,500 that was authorized for the EMS and crew last week for June of 2025. The new tax for the fire and EMS should develop just over $1.4 million. Yet the budget proposes to spend $1.6 million. Now, if crew requires $62,500 per month to meet salary or payroll, that's $750,000. If you subtract that from the $1.4 million, you're left with $734,000. If you split that between Blackstone and Burkeville, they would each get $367,000. Wouldn't that meet expectation? Again, those are just math questions. But that alone saves $190,000. Now, it should go without saying, and I think I heard it just a little while ago, that the budgets for each of those organizations have been reviewed by the board. So it's not just knowing the amount of money that they're asking for. You actually know what their revenue and expenses are other than the money received from the county. Because I would trust that there should be a complete analysis of all of those activities. Now, at last week's meeting, school funding was mentioned. What I'm about to share doesn't come from the school board or from the school administration. I believe they are commonly known facts. School funds are developed by others, except one number, and that's the ANTC number. The school division has a say in what that number is, but it's contractually driven by the 1977 agreement between Amelia and Nottoway for the ANTC program. So the state and the federal government determine what funds come to the school. Primary difference is, school doesn't have a reserve, so it has to live within that budget. Now, I'm not here just to say reduce things. It's a $59.2 million budget. I'm going to suggest that there are those in the complex that should be considered for a 3% salary increase and not just a 1.5% bonus. They work with the constitutional officers, often doing some of their work. Constitutional officers are getting the 3%. Why not county staff? Now, I was told I didn't have to say that. I told them I know I didn't have to, but I wanted to. I think they deserve a 3% increase. Now, the tax increase may be necessary, but it will be devastating to many. And the impact will go far and wide in the county. Now, there are a couple of things that I have concerns about. The $450,000 we're going to earn by the use of money. You all recognize that it takes $13.85 million at 3.25%, or $12.45 million at 4%, for 12 full months to generate that kind of money. And does the county have that kind of money to set aside for 12 months? In the new fiscal year, there is an agreement between the school division and the county that you don't pay the LCI for July, August, September, and October. It gets paid over an 8-month period. I guess that helps with the
Cash
flow
flows.
of revenue.
Cash flows.
But this budget does not address other issues, significant issues over the next 3 years. The reassessment that'll happen in 3 years, estimated at $300,000. Opening cell 8 at the landfill, estimated at $2 million. The courthouse improvement, estimate absolutely unknown.
Absolutely outrageous.
Paying back the IDA, the $2.1 million for the animal shelter, I don't see that in the budget. Now, as I indicated, a tax increase may be necessary. Understand that not everyone will see the increase as beneficial. Thanks for listening and hearing my suggestions and concerns. I'll help you understand them in the spirit in which they were given.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
Mr. Abbott, we appreciate you
Thank you,
coming up.
sir.
Mr. Collins, Mr. Chairman, if I could address one of the items that he spoke about when you were talking about the IDA. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the IDA can forgive that loan because it's county money
They
to county
could, but
money.
they lent it to us at 1%.
They lent us to us at 1%, and the first payment is due in July of
And I think you-
2026.
I think you're
So it
looking
wouldn't
at
be in this budget.
1 penny.
Right.
It's 1 penny on the rate for
125.
125.
But
So repayment doesn't start till next fiscal year.
it wouldn't, we're not gonna make any payments, so that's why it's not in the budget.
They're in construction.
All right, well, the reason why I asked this is because twice before, previous boards borrowed $1 million for the landfill because it was so deep in the red. And I believe because isn't the IDA owned by the county, essentially?
It's industrial, it's an arm of the county,
Arm of the
industrial.
county.
Yeah,
Industrial.
so the previous boards forgave the loan to the landfill, no tax increases, just come out of the general fund. So can we or can we not do the same thing with the IDA and not have to worry about any sort of repayment or
Well,
budgeting for
I
that?
think we reformed the IDA to try to use them as a financing arm.
Okay.
We've got some other things that we're looking at doing, so we can restack some money to them.
Okay.
So that, right now, the projects and crew pay the money into the IDA.
Okay.
Because the IDA built some buildings and then leased them, or lease purchased them to some businesses.
Okay.
So then that money, that's where that money came from,
Okay,
doing those economic types of things. So we want to continue to do that.
They're still paying, aren't they?
Mr. Abbott, I'd like to
It
address
actually
your
paid off.
$734,000
Get it off now.
you was talking about.
Yes,
You
sir.
remember using that figure? It's our idea to staff a second ambulance. And as you said, that cost about $750,000 for 12 months, 24/7. Because currently, the EMS only has one, and then Burkeville has one, that's two, but we need a third one to cover the county. We've seen the need of that, and that will gobble that $734,000.
Well, I'm pretty decent at math. 750 and 750 is 1.5. You're only asking in the budget for 1.6, so Burkeville and Blackstone are gonna share $100,000?
Burkeville, and you.
Burkeville's just getting some equipment money that was owed to them from prior
Right.
years, just trying to even up on some, for a
It's either in the
squad.
budget or it isn't.
The equipment is in the budget.
Yeah, the equipment, that money was in the budget.
That's right.
so what you're asking, Mr. Abbott, is why the 1.6 if it's already in the budget, is that correct?
No, I'm just using
So
my friend Mr.
Burkeville,
Toast's numbers at 750 twice.
Well, that was your number and mine. You said 734, you didn't know whether 734 was
Well,
gonna be used.
now, if you take 1.4 and subtract 750 from it, that's the residue of that. And I figured that would be split between Burkeville and,
Burkeville has indicated to us that they don't have near their level, they're asking for level funding too, correct?
except for
on the
that,
fire
except for
side.
that.
You
equipment
gotta remember,
money.
you're mixing them up, Mr. Abbott. It's fire and EMS.
well,
And you're talking about,
all I'm suggesting is all I can work with is the numbers that were provided in the two-page document. That's what I'm working with. I don't have all the understanding that the five of you have.
Well, that's the reason I wanted to
Or
put
the
some
county
insight on
All
you.
right, okay, okay.
That's the same as this document here would have been great to have in advance, because
That was yesterday we got that.
it would
Ms.
it would
Norton asked-
go against what was done 1 year ago when the board, a year ago, because I believe all five of you were here a year ago.
That's correct. Speaking of five, the
allowed
5
that to
minutes
be
is up, Mr.
published That
Chairman.
would said that the
I'm
reserve
trying to
would
let
be
everybody
down to
speak,
$1
but
million.
we're, okay. Mr. Abbott?
Sir.
Thank you for coming up to speak.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
Brenda Payne.
Good evening, Mayor.
How's everybody?
Good to see
Good
you.
evening.
I was making scribbly notes as y'all were talking. I'm gonna be here longer. Well, I'm against the tax increase, but I'm against it because I don't feel like that Nottoway EMS has been held accountable. And I'm gonna tell you why. I have sit at home and watched all the work sessions all these meetings. I was there when you guys were talking about adding people to their board, and they said, we're gonna tell you who you can add. And then you suggested a fire person, which should be on the board. And they said, no, we don't want one. And that went away. And they told you who they wanted to be on their board. You didn't tell them. I sit there and I listen to them tell you, if you don't do this and this, then we're not gonna run calls in Nottoway. Call me old school, but that's a threat. That's blackmail. That's like, give me money. Give me money or I'm not going to serve the people of Nottoway. And I'm not saying anything bad about that squad. They have worked long before I ever came here. But I also can see what people do. I have really good discernment when I sit and I listen to people talk. And I've heard lots of things that have not been asked. Like they're asking you for all this money, okay? What did they offer to do to cut their cost for you, to make it easier? Why is $25,000 a year in their budget for grass and building maintenance? Get your people out there and let them cut the grass and do away with the $25,000. My husband was on the Burkeville Rescue Squad, and they went up there and he cut bushes and he cut grass and he climbed on the railroad track. He's no better than them. That's $25,000 to their good. Cut your own grass. They've got 31 people on staff. Who are they? Do they all work? Are they all on call? Because I can tell you no. Supervisor Toth, you said they didn't have enough people to schedule. They have part-time people that are not on the schedule for the next 2 months. Why? That was told to me by them, by the person that's not on the schedule. So.
Did that person say why?
They weren't on there.
They don't know
I'm
why.
not going to tell you who it is.
I'm not asking you that.
Well, if I say too much, you're going to know who it is. So I'm going to tell you their money's tight.
Oh, I
because
figured
of-
out who that is. That's every citizen in Nottoway.
Well, yes, but right now I'm talking about this part. And I don't think that they're the only ones. Fully available, but not on there for the whole month of May and the whole month of June. So some of the things that y'all are being told might not be exactly accurate. I heard Supervisor Norton say that y'all looked at the entire audit, but then you were surprised. How is that possible? How can you look at the audit and look at the numbers and everything that's there and be surprised when they ask you for money?
We saw the audit
After
after
the
the
ask.
fact. After the ask.
So have you seen their books? Have you really seen their books?
I have not.
But
Exactly.
Supervisor Rourke and I intend to actually see their book.
I hope so.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope so. I
We're
hope
gonna dig
y'all-
deep into it.
Yes.
I can assure you of that.
And there's another question. You say you need another rescue squad for crew.
Or for Blackstone, we're not sure which
However,
one.
there needs to be 3 running
Yes.
24.
Okay. How many ALS do you have?
We're
Where
gonna
are they?
We're going to see to it that they're fully staffed. I believe the
right.
board was in agreement that we only have ALS providers on.
I think
on the
all
squad.
your ALS is at the base. You have no ALS in crew available.
We're going to see to it that they are on these units for these citizens. If they're paying 1 penny out of their pockets for tax for this service, we're going to see to it that they're getting what they're paying for.
I mean, I'm not trying to be hateful. Truly, I am not trying to be hateful,
These
but
are
when
all-
I can sit in
These
my
are all
chair.
fair, these are all fair questions.
When I can sit in my house and I can say, why aren't they asking this? Why aren't they asking this? Why haven't they looked at this? I'm screaming, my husband's going, Brenda, what is wrong? But it's like y'all aren't asking the questions. You're not trying to look. You're just like, here's your money. You already gave them money. Do they have 31 people on staff for real that work?
We're gonna,
Have you seen the list?
No, we've not gotten that far, Ms. Payne, and I tell you what, we can only go by what we've told until we actually see the list.
I know.
As a matter of fact, as far as this audit goes, it's no different than you turning your tax papers into your tax preparer. That person can only prepare for what you've turned in. Therefore, until Supervisor Rourke, myself, and Buddy look at bank statements, we don't know. But when we see bank statements, that will tell us the true story.
Okay.
And until then, it's all hearsay.
Then I ask that you not give another dollar to them until you see it. And I'm sure I stand with a lot of people in this county on that.
Okay.
And with that, I'm gonna sit down.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Mr. Westfall.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all?
good evening, Ms. Westfall. How you doing,
Good
buddy?
evening. Thank you for coming.
I don't really like being up here. Because every time you stand up here, you feel like you're criticizing somebody. And I'm not, because I'm not smart enough to criticize y'all or the rescue squad or the fire department. But I have significant concerns about the tax picture. If you take our increase from last year and write it on a piece of paper and you write the increases y'all are talking about, add them all up and just sit for 10 minutes and look at that number. And if you're not concerned about that, something's wrong with you. There's ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm concerned about it. And there's a lot of people in this county that I think are too. And really, all I have is questions. And I was looking for a forum to ask these questions. And Mr. Rourke mentioned something about a Facebook page, but I'm not aware of that. Is there a Board of Supervisors Facebook page?
It's the county's Facebook page.
What's happening in Nottoway or what's?
No, that's,
Oh, just a plain,
yeah, it's the county's
is there a
Facebook
forum on
website.
there to post questions and get answers?
That I'm not sure of,
I don't know
but
if
it
it's
should
I
be.
think it's actively managed.
If it's not, it should be.
Absolutely, and that's a big strong point for me. Citizens need a way to communicate with the board without coming in and taking your 5 minutes. What if they did? What if there was 2,000 people standing out there in a line?
Then we'd be here for a long
A
time.
long dadgum time. And why they're not standing out there, I don't know. My suspicion is they figure it's a waste of their time because you guys already got it figured out. But
Oh, no. Oh,
I'm,
no.
I'm just saying I don't.
I understand. I
I
understand
sound
what
like I'm
point, yes, sir.
criticizing you, but I think a lot of citizens feel exactly that. Why waste my time going up there because they don't listen to me? Now, what I say right here today, is it collected somewhere? Is it written down?
It is on
It's
the-
audio.
It is
Okay,
videotaped.
so y'all go
Yep.
back and review that?
On,
Or,
on YouTube. Yes, sir. We do.
okay, well, see, I learned a lot of stuff today already.
The public can too, you can too.
And I watched some of y'all supervisor board meetings. Matter of fact, I watched the one where the EMS folks were there, and here's something that just boggles my mind still. The EMS fellow said, and I don't remember his name, he said, they are not obligated to run 911 calls in Nottoway County.
Very bothersome.
That's
I
true.
agree.
All right, that's fine, they aren't. The hell is their job then? Sit behind the desk, watch TV? That's ridiculous. That he said that, I would never want to speak to that guy again. And going on that, if they're not obligated, is the county obligated for 911 service?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I looked this up on the internet, and you can be a professor if you look at the internet long enough.
There's
I
some
looked it
counties,
up.
some counties have employed VRS employees
Mm-hmm.
that work for the county and run calls.
What I saw, it said Virginia counties weren't by law obligated to run 911 calls. Now, that could be wrong because the internet's wrong a lot. I also, somebody said that grants, I looked and there's 2 or 3 agencies, can't remember them right now, RSAF and VDEM and all, that you can get rescue grants from. Do we have a grant writer? Does anybody check on that stuff?
We do. Mr. Hyde does it for emergency
Hey,
services.
that's good.
But again, for the salary, sir, there's no grants for that.
Okay.
Equipment and radios, equipment and stuff
Right.
like that is. And I will respectfully say this, Buddy has done a phenomenal job since stepping in,
Well, good.
to assist the county with that shortfall because we were in a shortfall for a long time.
That's great, really. Compassionate billing, really? That's nice. All that means is you're not gonna pay, so I have to pay for you.
That's it.
Very true statement.
And so is the county gonna have compassionate billing when I can't pay my taxes? I guess not.
I love that.
I'm thinking not, you know. And someone said, I believe you, Mr. Collins, said July 1st, they passed a law that you can't take them to court or try to get debt collection on medical.
Medical. Virginia code.
So if I don't pay my dentist, they can't come and get me?
That's
I
correct.
think-
That is correct.
I'm gonna check on that one.
It's kind of like Walmart saying if it ain't $25 or more, we ain't gonna arrest you. And what did they do? Open the door to theft.
I don't know if I'd want your dentist to pull that second tooth if you didn't pay for the first one.
I like that, so why don't the emergency squad say, thank you, we ain't coming this time?
I'm with you.
You know, because I don't know how many citizens are in the county, y'all might know.
Like
15,000.
Okay, well, some of them don't own cars and houses and stuff, but everybody that owns a car and the house is gonna pay for their EMS services. And they probably use it more than all the people with cars and houses. I mean, that's just crazy. If there is an EMS tax, will there still be hard billing?
Should be.
There'll be,
I mean, they'll
my
send the
understanding is
bills out.
there's three, there's initial bill, second notice, and then there's a phone call to set up a payment plan, is what the NCES was planning from going from compassionate billing to. In other words,
But
it
if
doesn't
you-
just go away now, there's gonna be more work trying to get them to collect, whether that's a monthly payment or.
I hope that more work don't cause any cost, because after July 1, the public knows they ain't got to pay it anyway.
Right.
So, in layman's terms, if you got insurance, your insurance company's gonna pay like it always has.
But like
If
you
you
said-
don't, they ain't.
But like you said at the board meeting, well, I'm gonna pay, I don't know about everybody else, but you said at the board meeting, I mean, the minutes I saw on so we got EMS tax. Why should I pay my insurance company for ambulance services? I'll cancel that part. Why should I pay?
Make those premiums, you're
Because
right.
if you got insurance, you are billed twice. I don't care, that EMS guy said, no, you're not billed twice. You're just paying the guy to sit there 24 hours a day.
Mr. Westfall, part of what you're discussing here is gone back. In this day and time, it's the wrong time. It's too politically charged. People are always at everybody about everything. People feel entitled. What this is going back to is an honor system. And you tell me when was the last time you saw a bunch of people hold up honor?
I'm with you 100%. 100%.
And it's gonna, then the taxpayers are gonna pay for it.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Westfall, you had a few more things?
Okay, new courthouse, I could care less about a new courthouse. A courthouse is it's a place that you go when you are in trouble. And if it's nice and pretty inside, I don't care. I don't think it needs to be. I could care less about that. It's pretty, so the judge and the Commonwealth attorney and all the lawyers can pile up behind, well, sort of like y'all do, unfortunately, up behind a nice oak desk and look down at everybody else. I worked for a court place for many, many years, and I spent a lot of time in courthouses. And it ain't really for the people, it's for the judge and the lawyers and all that crap. Don't throw money at everything that comes along. Tax increase, tax increase, tax increase, new public safety tower, new public safety. Has anybody thought about a regional radio system? Some counties do that. Maybe we could partner with, a couple of other counties. There's 95 counties in Virginia. How do all 94 of those others collect their EMS? I know I've talked to a few of them, and I know how they do it, but there's a lot of, huh?
Tax levies.
No, well,
Some of them.
Amelia has a
Use
landfill that's pretty strong.
Some of them don't. Some of them have, if you donate $200, we won't never, when we come to see you, we won't charge you. If you don't, we will. It's all kinds of.
NECS is working on that. That's a subscription service. Dinwiddie has it.
Yeah, well, there's got to be a lot of different ways, and I think these ladies and people, they really had their stuff together. They had numbers, they had figures and all, and I think the rescue squad hasn't been balancing the books. Thank y'all, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Westfall.
Thank you, Mr. Westfall.
Sue Yates.
Hello, Ms. Yates.
Thank you, Sue.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
All right, now y'all be patient here. Every time she touches that mic, she ends up getting in a fight with it. So.
So I came here tonight unprepared to speak. So I put my name on the list last because I wanted to hear what everybody said first. I haven't been up here for a long time because I believe that every new board deserves a time to get their feet wet and learn what's going on. So the first 6 months that you guys were in office, I stayed away. Then I was gonna come back, and I didn't because I got involved in the federal election. But now I'm back. And I've heard everybody talk tonight, and I've heard them talk about, the fact that you can be voted out. I'm speaking from me. This is the best board I have seen collectively in the 8 years I have been involved with Nottoway politics. And I tip my hat to every single one of you 5 for taking on what you have done, what you have taken on. When I first started looking at all this stuff, I read documents back 30 years and found study after study after study, probably in excess of 20 studies, paid for $30,000, $40,000 at a time. Wasn't it $100,000 on the animal shelter one? Just thrown away. So our problem now has been created by bad leadership. But in my opinion, with the exception of you 5, we're still suffering from bad leadership. And until we get talent and good leadership in the important seats, we're going to continue to fail. I know a long time ago, maybe Daphne or John said to me, why do you have to always pick people out? Name them by name. Why can't you just be in general? Because I don't believe that anybody should be thrown under the bus for somebody else's fault. That's why. So I want to go through some of the things I've heard tonight. What bothers me the most here tonight, and I know, Bill, you don't want to hear me. You've made that clear, and I'm okay with that, is why Steve Bowen has had nothing to say today. I think that, Mr. Bowen, you are $55,000 a year overpaid for the talent that you bring to this county. And I find it offensive as a citizen that you signed a contract to hire Morgan Quick to do that part of the job.
So I'm gonna caution you about personal attacks on employees.
Okay, well, but that's not a personal attack, that's fact. And I'm wondering why Morgan Quick was paid again here now, and why isn't Morgan Quick here? You guys, I've been an elected official, and you're just citizens, and you all come from different walks of life. You're a farmer, you've done some accounting, you've worked in a bank, you've been a teacher. John, you've been a plumber. And this is why you have to look to him to be your leader, to teach you. And I don't think we have that. So I'm offended at the fact that the citizens of Nottoway County are paying for 2 administrators. I want to pay for 1. And to the people that made comment about living in the county, gosh, you can only wonder what it's like to be in Crew. I'm a business owner in Crew. As a county resident, I pay for 2 administrators. As a Crew resident, I pay for 2 town managers, and the extra town manager, the part-time one, has a helper that gets paid because the key one can't do his job all the way. And I pay for 2 business licenses. So I've got 2 plus 2 plus 2 by living in Crew, and I find that offensive. And I don't mind paying taxes. And I'm not upset that our taxes have gone up. They should have gone up incrementally years ago. And we're paying the price now because it's all falling in your laps.
And this is the first board I have seen that has really buckled under and done the hard work, my opinion. Bo?
Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
you made a comment about, supervisors can quit too.
I was waiting for, you built us up so much, now I'm waiting for you to try to tear us down like I do. But yes, ma'am, you got my undivided attention.
I can't tear you guys down. I've been too involved in this for the last years to not understand what you guys are up against. You know? And so the bottom line is, the money has to come from the taxpayers.
Unfortunate.
But unfortunately, the taxpayers are at fault, too. We voted in bad boards in the past. And we let them sit there over and over and over and over again and do nothing. So it's our responsibility, too. Give me a second as I kind of look through my notes.
You're fine.
I am a bit concerned right now about the board giving in to the solar issues as a way to raise revenue. I don't want you guys to forget, or for the county to forget, that I don't want you to be so panicked that you choose to do something that maybe isn't good, that will hurt us in the end. And I'm just one of these people that am not convinced that the end of life for the solar farms has been addressed enough to bring them into our county. I think that we're looking to open another can of worms, and that really concerns me, okay? Question, have you all, and I think, John, you did in the past, looked at the idea of the landfill being privatized?
Yes, ma'am.
You know?
You will hear about that tonight.
Okay, would like to know about that, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Because the landfill has been a terrible drain on our county for ever since I can remember. And I'm going to kind of go out of order because I don't want to forget my notes. Bill, I want to
ma'am.
thank you tonight for having the common sense to allow open and interactive dialogue with the citizens. Because to me, it shows transparency, and I want to thank you for that. And Brenda had a great point about the grass. I mean, are they really paying $25,000 a year to cut grass?
That's
You know?
one of those things that when you do the type of audit that they did, you just see the number. You don't know which LLC, did they get 3 bids? How did they get to that number?
Yeah.
What's in that number? What was,
What was included, I understand. But, I can understand where.
but Mr. Rourke and Mr. Toth, they're going,
Yeah, I got
they're going to
that.
thin it down.
But I'm just making, making a point, okay? And I want to make a special recognition tonight of Buddy Hyde. I think he is the best gift that Nottoway County has ever had. And as far as I'm concerned, he should be sitting in that seat. He has the knowledge and the expertise to do the job. I'm questioning what part Sheriff Jones played in the radio system. Shouldn't that have come more from his office to raise the money, to get grants, to do whatever is necessary for our radio system? I don't think that's happened. And everybody here that doesn't know it tonight, and I know you guys know it, we have a renegade judge that thinks he can come in here and make us spend millions of dollars to fix a courthouse,
You're going to hear about that tonight, too.
okay? My attitude about him is call me on the phone and I'll pick up a petition. Get rid of the jerk.
State of Virginia, they're appointed.
Yep,
Like I said,
the
get
crooked
rid of the
politicians
jerk.
appoint judges.
Huh?
The crooked politicians appoint judges.
Okay?
All right, Ms.
And,
Yates?
and,
you have-
and I think last but not least,
Okay.
on my concerns, and it does affect, and all of these things I'm talking about tonight, are about money. It all breaks down to money in the end, and it's all coming from us. And I think that we're spending a lot of money on the Commonwealth Attorney's, Leon Watrous' office, for very little product and very little result. I don't feel safer with Leanne Watrous in office.
Agreed.
And I am going to personally, just to let everybody know, because it's going around now, I am going to personally head up a petition for her removal.
Oh, I hope you get plenty of signatures.
So I think let me look through my list here. I think I've hit it all.
I have a little more favoritism towards women, but if I didn't say anything about the 5 minutes, I wouldn't be doing him any justice because I've reminded him about his 5 minutes. And the only reason I haven't you is because I got a little more favoritism towards women.
I'm done.
You're done? All right, thank you, Ms. Yates.
Thank you, Ms. Yates.
I do want to clear one thing. She said we had 2 county administrators. We have 1 county administrator, and then there was a financial consultant. I think last year he was $7,500.
Yes.
Okay.
But add that to all the other things.
I just clearing it up.
We add it up.
All right. That's it. Did anybody not sign up that decides now they want to speak? TJ Oliver, correct?
Yes. I was going to call that man today, believe it or not.
How you
Well,
doing,
here he
Mr.
is.
Gordon?
Good, how you doing, Ms. Oliver?
Doing well, doing well.
Good to see you, man.
So I apologize, excuse me for being a little late to the game. I know everybody.
That's fine. That's why.
Talking about solar.
That's why I asked.
So I'm not gonna talk about solar in the way you think. Nobody proposed an alternative solution. Hog houses. Everybody said apparently I wasn't here. We don't want them. We're an agricultural county. Majority of our land is agricultural district. Through those hog houses, if you would like to produce a natural resource, you can produce gas. You can produce natural gas through them, and you can run those lines under the ground, and you can still utilize that land to grow your crops. So that is just a suggestion that I would like to put forth that maybe could be reconsidered.
Chairman Collins and I discussed this previously, and we are going to definitely take a look at it. I think our first step is to reach out to Smithfield to see if they're interested in placing some hog houses in our county. They would be a lot closer to their feed mills than some of the other counties that they do serve further west of here.
Very true. And I don't know off the top of my head what the cost is to convert a chicken house into a hog house.
I think it would be not feasible at all, simply because
Mr.
of
Toth
the,
and I have been
Yeah.
texting, so
Yeah.
there's some concrete basements,
Slats
waste
and
waste
manure.
lagoons.
yeah, height of the building inside. It'd be a lot of variables to that. But that's a good thought, though. You can at least use the materials off of it and
Very
reconstruct one.
Very true. That was all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
sir.
Mr. Oliver.
Mr.
Yep,
Oliver.
appreciate it. Okay, anyone else? That was our last speaker. I'd like a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I did have one of our fire chiefs had sent an email in. He's making calls tonight, but he did ask to have his thoughts shared. And since he's not here to be part of the public hearing, we're just going to go ahead and read his text. This is from Chief Brian Welch in Burkeville, Virginia. Good evening. I hope this email finds you well. I'm not able to attend tonight's meeting as I have obligations with Burkeville Town Council tonight, as we also have our budget public hearing. I'm sorry, I thought he was making calls. He's doing town council. I would like to have my thoughts read aloud if at all possible. I do support the creation of fire and EMS tax levies, as the volunteer fire and EMS services are losing membership due to extremely high call volumes and less jobs in the area, allowing their employees to leave during their shifts to help out in the community. I do support providing additional funding for all 4 fire and EMS agencies with the requirement of monthly reports, showing where these funds are going as well as what level of staffing is being provided with this increased funding allotment. The NCES board positions should be as agreed to by their membership. 2 Nottoway County Board of Supervisors and Nottoway County Emergency Services Coordinator, instead of what's been suggested of using a citizen who has no control over county funds. In Burkeville's case, I will submit a monthly staffing report, monthly staffing costs for the previous month, and monthly revenue recovery reports for the previous month, as promised previously. Burkeville will aim to staff a minimum of 1 ALS-equipped ambulance 24/7 in the Burkeville Volunteer Fire Station. Should we fail to provide an ALS crew for any reason, I will inform the Nottoway Emergency Services Coordinator as well as the Nottoway County Administrator as soon as possible. I would like to see other possible revenue streams looked at for filling the budget shortfalls. All county budget line items should be reviewed for excess spending that could be curbed. Surplus or sell any real estate properties that are not currently providing a benefit to the county, funding the bottom line. Look into the privatization of the county landfill, as previous studies showed, will provide additional funds back to the county. The Nottoway Board of Supervisors can always put limitations on what types of waste is brought into the landfill in our county. Thank you for your commitment to serving Nottoway County, and thank you for your time. Brian Welch, Fire Chief, Burkeville Volunteer Fire Department. We're going to go to comments from members of the board. If the audience has any comments about something the board does, you guys meet afterwards, after we get done. You can talk to your board members. But we'll just go ahead and go through with comments. Vice Chair Norton.
I appreciate everybody that came here tonight and voiced it. I honestly thought there would be more people. All of us have taken this to heart and spent many a night, I know myself, staying up late researching. I got sleepless nights, people. I didn't ask for this. All of this rolled downhill to us. But it's not like it wasn't known. Chief John Shute has come to this board previous for years and warned this was going to happen. The entire state of Virginia and our nation is struggling with this. It's going to kill our people. But what would be worse if we don't fund it and you call the emergency squad and they don't come? My husband has a heart condition. The doctor told me when he had his heart attack, never put him in a car and take him, because down the road you can't administer CPR. The rules and legislations governing all of this are a multitude. And one of the gentlemen had responded about, do we have to have this? Reference the Virginia Code 32-1-111. Localities may provide emergency medical services to its citizens by either establishing an EMS agency as a department of government or contracting with an authorized independent EMS agency. I'll put it out there. It was out in public. We're looking at that.
Now, you used the word may provide.
It says may. But if we don't, and they don't, who will? It's so many multiple levels to this. And I still go back, and I agree with some of what Sue said. Previous boards years ago never developed us to have a revenue stream from business and industry. Sadly, it comes from a little bit of sales tax and the citizens. We are looking at every option, and I want to commend TJ, Mr. Oliver, for bringing a positive solution to the table. That's something they've been thinking about, didn't think about that. My son's a farmer, he's a chicken farmer. We are looking at this in every angle possible. There's been reference to the radio. We can't have our law enforcement, we're all talking about EMS and fire. We can't forget our law enforcement officers. They're out there in the field and they get to a location and their signal's cut. If they're in hot pursuit or something's going on and they lose signal, they could die. Just like if we don't fund emergency services, somebody's going to die. We're blessed that the fire and rescue around here is solvent right now. These particular guys, Joey and Ron, know them well. They're my district. But that whole department is aging out. Most of them are 65 and up. When they age out, The volunteerism is dying. The amount of knowledge you have to serve on these agencies is phenomenal. And if you're gonna go to the trouble to take the classes, then go get paid to do it. So when they age out, what are we supposed to do? That's gonna be the next thing that comes to the table, is fire. We're not the Northern Virginias, the Chesterfields, the Norfolks that have the revenue stream. They've had paid services for years. And now rubber meets the road. It's gonna be hard choices. I'm even gonna sell one of my vehicles, we have two, and trade down, because I know it's coming. But I want the squad to come and get me, or my husband, or my granddaughter who has seizures, because I'm not medically inclined to do it. I've lived here my entire life, never ever dreamed it would come to this. But we're living in a new age, a new day. Things have got to change. It's not going to be good. But we do have a light at the end of the tunnel. We are looking at revenue sources. There are some things happening, but it's not happening right now. We need money right now. And I agree with the scrutiny of emergency squad. We need to scrutinize them a lot. And it doesn't mean we have to stick with them. We can hire our own agency. And I think personally we could save money doing it. But again, and I don't mean to sound hard, I have been cussed at, fussed at, more than I can imagine in the last 3 weeks. But I told these guys, oh, y'all may not know my mama. God rest her soul, she died 3 years ago. She was a feisty little bird. And as long as I got her in me, I'm hell and be damned that somebody cussing me on the phone is gonna get me and stop me from doing this job, because I'm not gonna quit. Because the people put me here for a reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norton. Supervisor Ingram.
I've been a lifelong resident of the county also. I'm with Ms. Norton. I did not see this coming. None of us saw this coming. I spoke to a former supervisor a couple of days ago, and the comment I got was, we knew this was coming. I'm like, you knew it was coming? Why didn't you tell us? I mean, we just fell into this thing. I got a couple of things that I want to say, and this goes back to when I was a single man teaching school. We only got paid 10 months a year. So I had to find something to do in the summertime. So I went to work for Southside Electric. And I'll never forget, this was when Southside did most of their contracting themselves. So I'd ride on a line truck and we'd build a line. We built a line to Dinwiddie High School off of 460. But we were at a man's house, his home site where he was gonna build his house. And so the foreman of the crew, I was just a grunt. They called me a grunt. You know, I sit on the ground. I didn't climb the poles. No, I was not going up the pole. But anyway, so the foreman was saying to him, okay, if we come right here, we're gonna have to take that tree down right there. He said, oh no, you can't cut that tree. So he looked at, foreman looked again, he said, okay, well if we come this way, we're gonna have to cut that tree. Oh no, you can't cut that tree. And this went on for about 10 minutes. And I could tell the foreman, he was a hard man. He looked at him finally, he said, sir, I gotta ask you one question. This guy said, okay, what? He said, what do you want, trees or electricity? And that's where we're at now. What do you want? Do you want a squad in each town, fully equipped with equipment, or do you want no taxes? Or you don't want a tax increase? That's pretty much what it's come down to. And we really don't have, to my opinion, we don't have a choice. I have used the squad myself. I had a heart attack. I got flown from Hooper Park to Chippenham Hospital. If it hadn't been for that, I probably wouldn't be here. And when I got there and the doctor put the stent in my heart and he said to me, he said, you know, you were very fortunate. He said, they did exactly what they needed to do for you at Crew Medical and with that squad. And I'll know, the thing you don't forget, I got on that helicopter and they'd given me the I was feeling pretty good then. And I looked at the EMS who was sitting next to me, and I said, how long is this going to take? He said, 12 minutes. We left Hooper Park and landed on Chippenham Roof in 12 minutes. And if it wasn't for the Nottoway County Emergency Squad, I don't know what would have happened. But these are things, this is life and death, in my opinion. The fire departments have been here forever. I've had to use them more than I wanted to. They are fortunate now that they have the volunteers. We don't have them with the squad. You know, and that's a shame, because I can remember when the squad used to, their vehicle was an old hearse, and they put you in that and take you wherever you needed to go. But we don't have that anymore. And as Ms. Norton said, the training that these guys have to have, the ladies have to have now, to be a ALS, and no telling how much training they have to do, and have to pay for it. So, I mean, it's getting to a point where we got to choose. What do we want? Do we want to have somebody call? And I heard the comment about the insurance. To me, if I have insurance, which I am fortunate that I do have, Medicare and a supplement, but think about it. You don't have insurance, or you have insurance, but you call and nobody comes to get you. What's your insurance worth? Nothing. Having somebody come is also you're paying for insurance, in my opinion. So it's you know, that's the other thing that I hear people say, well, I've got insurance, so why should I have to pay for somebody that doesn't have insurance? The insurance is somebody's going to come when you need them. And the last thing I'm going to say is, and I didn't know this, but I found it out, all the emergency services in the county are all 501c. And as Mr. Toe said, lady was given the money because she thought they were all volunteer. But she could take that off her taxes. But they're all 501c. So if you give them money, you can take it off your taxes. But they do not have to provide anything for us.
That's right.
They don't have to provide anything. They're not an arm of the county, okay? Probably going to end up being an arm of the county in the long run. But I want everybody to understand that. And I can tell you this, sitting up here, nobody on this board wants to raise taxes. My assessment went up 99% the last go-round. I had to pay over $1,000 more real estate tax. And I voted for that, I voted for that increase. Fortunate enough, my wife and I both are retired. We did have enough money to make the payments, but I can understand people are going to be in serious difficulty trying to pay this. But what choice do we have? Somebody's got to give me a choice, you know, because we have to make up our mind what we're going to do. And I really, myself, don't see any way around it. Thank you, Mr. Collins.
Supervisor Rourke.
Yes, sir. I ask y'all, please be patient with me. This is going to take a minute. But I would ask county for y'all's participation along with the board with just three quick questions to the citizens, okay? Number one, do y'all believe it's a function, a requirement that y'all's expectation of this board is to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money? May I see a share of hands to say that? Of course, the Commonwealth Attorney doesn't agree. The second question would be, do y'all believe this board is responsible for asking their shareholders to be accountable for the monies that the county is dispersing to the shareholders? Do y'all believe that we should be responsible for that? Raise your hand if you agree. Of course, the Commonwealth Attorney doesn't agree. Sheriff does. Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate it.
Supervisor Rourke, she's not the only person in the room that didn't raise her hand. You kind of singled her out now.
I did for a reason. I'll get to that reason.
Okay.
I'll get to that reason. Because she's been, I'll get to that reason now. Okay. She has been sitting here with an asinine scowl on her face, staring me down all night. And you know what? She don't intimidate me. So the third part of that question would be, do y'all believe this board should ask their shareholders, you know, in that accountability to basically provide us with all the information that we ask for so we can make sure that shareholders are taking the taxpayers' money, doing what they've asked to do with it for, and basically, y'all have said tonight, you want accountability for it. Do y'all agree that's part this governing body should do? Board members, everybody, do y'all agree to that? Sure. Okay, all right. Okay, we expect that. Anyway. Transparency, yes, ma'am. Okay, so we spoke about that tonight. Now, part of the things I wanted to mention is previous interactions or inactions of the previous boards. That's been brought up several times tonight, even by board members here. In 24, when this board first got together, we had spoken in an open meeting that we weren't going to assign blame for previous boards' mistakes. I think, unfortunately, we're at a crossroads now where, for transparency purposes, the citizens need to understand. I don't want to point fingers, but the fingers must go back to where this started. Previous boards and previous county administrators have not been forthcoming. The county administrators have not given the right information to the board members so they understand what's going on. In 2020, this room right here, we asked about a levy for the fire and EMS. The county administrator walked around handing out papers saying you could not do it. The state code said you cannot earmark funds, which was absolutely wrong. So that was just in 2020. Also, the big thing some people may not realize, and I'm speaking personally myself here, and I want to explain why. There's people out there saying this board got their hands in the cookie jar, lining their pockets with money. Hell, I'm broke. Hell, I'm broke. All you got to do, my information is out there, my financial information. The only way I was able to open my store is I emptied what I had at the shop. I sold my trailers, my PA equipment, my 2 Camaros that had not running anyway, but some collector's bought. I liquidated what I had to get enough money together to go up there and open the store in Berkeley. That's what I did. And so I do take it offensive because I love this county and I love the people in this county. And it hurts me when people say that any of us is putting money in our pocket. But I understand why. Look at the corruption at state and national level. It exists. And so when people are entrenched in state national politics, they pass that down to us because they can get to us. You can see us. You can see us in Walmart. You can see us in the store. You can come here and speak to us. You know, so we get the brunt of their hatred for national politics, but nobody's here. I mean, one thing I will say that I would hope could clear some of that misconception up with the citizens is that we do have an audit. But the one thing we haven't done is audit the auditors. All these auditors just giving us the information saying, hey, it matches up. Good luck. You got something that you can shoo your citizens away with. I think we need to audit the auditors. That's just my personal opinion. And make sure that our numbers are correct so when the citizens look at a report, it's not just a report from the auditors, it's a report from the auditors auditing an auditor to make sure the numbers are right. Beyond that, I believe that every elected official's first duty is the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. I got some people that will say it's the schools, and let me tell you why it's not the schools. If you got drugs in the school, are your children safe? If you got bullying in your school, are your kids' welfare and mental health good enough for them to learn? No, that's why it goes back and it starts here. The first pennies, the first dollar out of your tax pocket should absolutely go to the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. And also, and I'm sorry I'm bumping a little bit here, going back to the accountability before, when I said I was going to say something personal, it's about my previous votes here, because I voted against the last 3 budgets. The previous county administrator, the treasurer, Miss Ellen Meyer, God bless her, wonderful lady, think the word of her, when she said these words, and I can't unhear them, and I was right not to unhear them, and they resonate with me to today. I'm not going to be here when the county administrator runs this county in the red, So I voted against both his budgets. Nobody knows better than that treasurer, period. But nobody listened. Nobody listened. Took too much stock in the county administrator. We've moved on. All right? And when we got to last year's budget, as y'all know, I voted because I thought the tax increases were too high. I agreed that they need to go up, but that was just my personal opinion on that. And we're at where we're at. All right, so now let's talk about, like last week when we were here, we talked about offering solutions, not just throwing money at problems. One of those solutions go back to the fire and EMS. Volunteerism is down. You never have the quality of volunteers that you've had in the past. You're just not going to get that. That's why I was presenting to the board, and just to give it a name, I said the Step Up, Sign Up initiative here, where maybe we could rethink the whole personal property deal for our current volunteers, and they can use that as a retention and recruitment tool for new volunteers. The more volunteers we get in, the less we may have to spend on salaries. Would that eliminate the need for salaries? Absolutely not, because you have these people that are working. Evenings, nights, and weekends is most of the time when your volunteers are going to be available. So you're probably looking at about a 12-hour shift, definitely, Monday through Friday, where you're going to have them. I'm just proposing it. These fire departments and squads, they're the ones that have to say this, but as far as the firefighters, I think we need to really consider putting 4 paid firefighters in now. And I'm going to tell you why. When you have, like in Crew, in Burkeville in particular, they have older volunteers that can outrun most people. And I mean, when the tones go off, they are there. What happens when they're not? We need to get the paid ones in there, and you have them serve as firefighter and EMTs. I believe all of them want that because they can run first responder calls to help to take the load off the squad. But when the tones go off, you got 4 of them going. Now, where they put them, I think they should be in the center of the county simply because Crew has its first call, first duty, and then they're also first mutual aid to Burkeville, first mutual aid to Blackstone. So they run the majority of calls, even though like structure fires, all 3 companies get toned out. So they got it down to a science. They know what they're doing. We just got to give them some help. 4 paid firefighters is what I'm saying. Now, if they decide they want to do less, let's let them decide that. But by God, if your house catches on fire, I want them there, and you do too. Now, that's not to say I'm just etched in here because I got some more on the levies here, so just bear with me, please. All right. Some of the, I do have potentially, and I know it's last minute here, guys, and my mind just started working a few weeks ago. One of the things I presented here, again, back in, it was either 2020 or 21, was moving towards eliminating the tax on 65 and older that are fully retired here in Nottoway County. And my reason for that was simply this. I would rather have retired people paying little to no tax here than a bunch of meth heads. A bunch of people shooting the streets. That's what I would like to have. I don't care if we're a retirement community. I really don't. Simply because retired people are very good neighbors. You know, people that are out here shooting guns and carrying on, and I'll go back to what I said earlier. This is a conservative county. However, that is not to exclude anybody who is non-conservative. All your voices matter. All your needs need to be addressed within reason. So I'll still say, I'm willing to go back to that. I would do it today, tonight, if we could. Bam. If you're 65 or older and retired, no more taxes. No more taxes. No real estate taxes, no personal property tax. I would do that right now.
Mr. Rourke, not to interrupt you, but the Commissioner of Revenue and several of us have been working on that.
Yeah, I've been working on it since 2020.
They are.
When y'all come up with where you find that funds at to take care of that, let me know because I got a funny feeling that just the folks that ain't old enough to retire like myself is gonna work a whole lot more for the county than I already do.
in the form of paying my
You
taxes.
have to
Right.
make a certain income level.
Right,
but There
right, yeah.
are some options.
But it's just, but now we'll talk a little bit. Did have a constituent, it just kind of blew my mind, that believes that our taxes are higher than Chesterfield. I don't know the answer, but are they?
No,
You
no,
you can't really make the comparison, because one Chesterfield penny is worth $3 million.
Right, right. So that's what I'm saying. I just didn't know, some people take their things by the set number, and I understand that, and I told him I would ask the question.
Yeah, so that's.
All right, so how do we get some money? How do we get some money? I'll go back to what I was talking about with the landfill. Every house right now has a meter, and you pay $3 a month. Okay? Now, if our landfill ceased to exist, where does that $3 go? I believe it goes back to the general fund.
I would say.
Yeah, so it's $36 per house for every house that has a meter in the county. Bam, goes back to the general fund. Now, why do I mention that? I mention that because we're talking about taking drastic action. People are still speaking about solar, and I understand. I really understand. Nobody's knocking down our door to bring industry here. We're in a tough spot right now. So at the end of the day, this is, like I said, I have talked a little bit about this. Our landfill is costing us about $770,000 a year, okay, to operate. All right, this is what I'm willing to entertain. And of course, there's a lot of discussions that have to be had about that. It takes a landfill 5 years to get permitted. So anything that happens is going to take 5 years. And I'm glad it takes 5 years because they do the well drilling and all that testing and all that. I'm glad they do it. So keep your first number in your head, folks. $770,000 is what it's costing the county to operate it, okay? And that includes the convenience centers and everything, correct on that number? Okay. All right. So I want y'all to imagine we go so desperate for revenue, that we go out to Fort Barfoot, where we have roughly like 1,100 acres, and say we give, you heard me right, give 400 acres to a landfill company to open a landfill. Now, how long does that landfill last? Could be 20 years, 50 years, but this is the deal that I would be looking for. I'll give you the land. What I need you to do to pay off the land is now take the trash from our 3 towns and operate our convenience center sites for at least 20 years. Okay? That's how they pay for the 400 acres. All right. In the meantime, once they hit 2,000 tons per day, the county is going to be bringing in, depends on the rate, roughly I believe Lunenburg is like $42,000 or $44,000 a year. Okay? So with that, you're roughly they're getting $500,000 a year for 2,000 tons a day for their landfill. That's $500,000, $500,000 to the county, okay? Couple that with over $700,000 savings. You just saved and put in your pocket because you're already budgeting the $770,000 a year for landfill. So you just saved, already budgeted over $700,000, plus you're now going to be getting the revenue from the landfill over $500,000, $1.2 million. Now let me ask you that. How does $1.2 million sound over the course of a 20-year deal? And then guess what we have to do? Plus you save your $3 per meter, and it goes back in the general fund. So if we do that, you got to make sure the company you do it with can pick your trash up. Oops, guess what? There's some landfills that do that. Yeah, believe it or not, they do that. And the reason why I found this out, South Hill and Chase City just did it. Just did it. No employee lost a job, and the rates didn't go up. So wouldn't it be great for the 3 towns not to have to pay trash pickup for maybe 10, 20 years? We got to be fair on the asking price of the 400 acres and how long we can get our trash picked up. But we're not going to give them the convenience centers, because once the deal is up in 10 years or 20 years, we go back and operate our convenience centers. We put somebody there to watch it. All right. There's an option for revenue. It's just an option. Maybe it's a solution, maybe not. Maybe it's just not feasible at all. But there's some interest. There's that. But what I want to see is continued solutions, and not just throwing money at it. Because again, this is a conservative county. We look for solutions. We don't want to just throw money at it. Okay, so there's that. Another thing we can do right now, would y'all believe I could offer y'all something right now that you all wanted, that could eliminate for this year all the tax levies? Does that raise anybody's eyebrow?
Sure.
All right, so here we go. Now everybody in here raised their hands, wanting us to be fiscally responsible, good stewards of taxpayers' money, asked us to be, hold our shareholders accountable and make sure they're spending the money where they want to put it. All right, so ain't that what we're asking our squad to do right now? We are. We formed a committee to go ask the squad, you need to be accountable now. We're asking them because we're giving them money. That's what we're doing. So here's a big one. I might be committing suicide here, but
I hope you tell us you got a check from Elon Musk and we ain't got to do it.
that would be nice. All right, so
He's very capable of doing it, buddy. You might want to reach out to him.
all right,
Mr. Hyde.
all right. So one other thing before that, okay, just before that, before I get to that, so we can talk about the courthouse real quick because it's clearly on everybody's mind. Is the information we got the other day, is that our working papers or can we discuss that?
The chart, that was just numbers. Yeah, you can use that.
We can discuss that. All right, I just wanted to make sure. And ladies, just so y'all know, working papers, the county, it's their prerogative to hold them, so it kind of like closed sessions.
If we're talking about the budget, the numbers?
Yeah.
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 Preliminary
Okay,
numbers.
so.
They were in our email, so.
Okay. All right, so in that document, and y'all please correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been wrong before in my life, believe it or not.
Once or twice.
That's it. So the first number I saw, the lowest number, was $10 million for the cost of the courthouse. And what I wasn't clear on, I believe the number said what it would cost is $5.89 on real estate. Now, is that $5.89 on top of what we're already paying, or is that where we need to go to for 20 years to pay for the courthouse at $10 million? So if I can get clarification on that.
For how long you said?
20 years, because that's where it started, 10 years, 10 million for 20 years at 589. And that would be the tax rate on real estate,
5 cents.
5 cents.
It's 5 cent point something. They put the dollar sign there, but it's 5 cent
5 cents.
point.
5 cent.
5 cent.
Yeah.
Okay, see?
Well, that's what you meant, right? 5 cents?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
meant 5 cents.
So, okay, all right, and that's for 20 years though, okay, right?
Depending on how long you finance it for.
Yeah.
And that also would determine the annual payment as well.
Yeah, but I believe the original thing that they sent us was 10 million, 20 years, 5 cent tax. And I'm assuming for the next 20 years to pay for it. Okay, so.
10 million ain't gonna do it. There's no need to even thinking it will.
Okay, all right.
I wish 6 million would do it.
All right, you might like this. I hope so. Okay. Because I suggest, these people gotta pay for it, right? Let's put it on a referendum for November's ballot to ask the citizens, do they wish to pay more than $5 million to build the courthouse? Let the citizens decide. And if they say no, and this would be a binding referendum, not an advisory referendum. It's a binding referendum. If they say, do not spend over $5 million, guess what we just did? We respected the wishes of the people, and we named the tax the Judge Teefee tax. And then we also take the steps we need to do to have the builders go right over there and remodel that building. You got $5 million to do it. We can do it. Just like Mr. Westfall said, who were they building it for? Do you think the people that stand in front of there are being judged, you think they give a damn what building they being judged in? They don't care if they're being judged outside.
You right.
But this right here, listen, I worship God. I don't worship a man. I don't worship a building. I don't worship an idol. And somebody that lives in Powhatan County is going to come here and force this down these citizens' throat. I say no. I'm ready to ask the citizens, do y'all want us to fight this order? I don't care. I'm here for the people. I'm not here for state politicians and bureaucrats and their appointees. I'm just not here for that. I'm here for the citizens of Nottoway County. And so, with that said, here's the potential.
John, I would, to answer, you asked a question, so I'd like to
Yes,
answer
sir.
as in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
I'd have to seek legal counsel before I could answer any of them.
Okay.
Because if it's legal, yeah, I'd be all for it, but I don't know that it would be.
But I think our citizens
I
should
would,
have a voice.
I would say it's not because the judge is an attorney, was an attorney, and surely he'd have a whole lot better sense than oppose something that he knows that we could overturn. And I'm just saying that. I wish you were right. You might be right, but I don't think you are.
Tell us what a show cause order does.
Well, it makes you appear in court. And just for your comment, Judge Truby's order is being.
Catherine, can you come on up
Come
to the
to the
microphone?
mic.
Thank you.
I'll put it up. Oh,
She broke it.
Judge TV's order is making you guys comply with the state code of courthouses. It's not just.
So we don't have to build a brand new one. I think $5 million will do it. I say put it on a referendum.
Right now, what I have to do is update our county attorney of what we've done and meetings we've had. I've had to be very specific. And so our attorney talks to the judge's attorney. And that's where that stands right now. And so they have been waiting for the next step, and we haven't got to the last steps of signing any agreement or anything yet.
Yes,
But anyway.
Supervisor Roy, have you looked at any of the proposed plans for the courthouse complex?
Well, the only thing that's been given to me was riding around looking at the courthouse.
So you have done that? Because I didn't even do that.
I have done it, but I'm telling you, it's a waste of time. You know why? These people got to pay for it. It's what they think, not what we think.
You ain't seen no proposed drawing? Okay,
No, I have
well,
not.
I wish that 5 million would come close to it. But remember, you gotta tear down the commissioner's old office for a new footprint. We've got a sheriff's office over there that's no better than a pretty decent chicken coop that's gonna be incorporated probably in this new complex while we're at it. There's no need of going back to the drawing board.
Well, so I was just talking about the court, the order. I'm not talking about the complex.
You're talking about to satisfy the show cause, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll do it.
But I
Just for transparency to the public, I don't want somebody to call me and say, why was y'all talking about 10 to 20 million and Rourke is talking about 5 million? And then I'm gonna say, because Rourke ain't seen what needs to be done. That's what I'm gonna say.
That's fair, and that's fair. But at the end of the day, that building, you take $5 million, put it in that building, you know, what do you want? Do you want armed National Guard men lining around the building? Would that make you feel safe?
Hey, the sheriff told me before that he has taken care of the judge's wishes with human bodies in the form of a badge.
It didn't cost $1 million, did it?
I thought that was sufficient enough.
So I ain't
But
trying to
found
put you in that
out,
position, Sheriff.
Catherine, that the judge has imposed this on several counties, not just that judge.
That's right.
And they're building complex. And you wouldn't surely think little Nottoway ain't got no smarter citizens in it than Prince Edward or Buckingham or nobody else, would you? Dinwiddie.
Cumberland's under it too.
But what they didn't do is put it in and allow the citizens to have a voice.
I wish
Maddox did, and that didn't end well.
I think Charlotte County did too, and it didn't end well. They built a huge one, they forced them to build a huge one there.
What we're talking about, if I understand you right, bring it up to state code. It don't take $10 million to bring that building up to state code. It don't. Let's open it up. Come on over there. I mean, you got an intuitive gentleman right back there in the back. I mean, he gonna use hogs to bring in some natural gas. Listen at that. You know what? That didn't take no study to do that. That just took some common sense, some people get together and figure it out. And I believe common sense is mightier than the pen
It's not
on
so
paper.
common no more, Supervisor Rowe.
Yeah.
Supervisor Roy, that building is historical, and that's why we
ain't messing
can't
with
touch
that.
it.
Well, the front part is.
Right, that's the reason they added on to the back before.
But we can't touch
Yep.
it to get it to state code the way they want it. All the paperwork, the studies, all that, we
Well,
can't
then
touch
let
it.
the judge argue with the people saying that we can't touch that historical building then. Because why are we gonna build millions of dollars off these taxpayers' backs because he's demanding that? We've got a courthouse. Let him bring it to us that we can maneuver through their legal fightings and get that building up to code as he wants it. Or either I mean, do y'all want to go fight the Historical Society? I don't.
Mr. Rourke, we are under court order, and so we can have these discussions. But did you have anything else, anything further?
Yes, sir, just a little bit more here,
All right.
believe it or not. So the offer here is, I believe I found a little over, and some people ain't gonna like this. I know they're not. But it is. Everybody, just about everybody raised their hand for this accountability and wanting to know where their tax dollars and stuff are going, okay? So with that understanding that this board and these citizens in here asked for that tonight, I think I found a little over $2,330,000 plus, okay? So to avoid the possible levies this year, it's not going to eliminate it forever. All right, so what we were talking about roughly, I think, with the levies was going to bring out, I think it's 1.4 now, 1.4 million now, okay? And then, so here's the thing. Everybody asked for accountability, so we're going to do that. Live within your means. Does y'all believe that too? That anybody who's taking tax money? Live within your means, right? Okay? Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Problem is, the majority of people living in the United States don't live within their
Okay,
means.
so we're holding the squad responsible. We would expect the sheriff's office, other constitutional officers to hold that there. So the $30,000+ was the salary for the Commonwealth's attorney's administrative assistant. Y'all know how I feel about that. If y'all want me to repeat, I'll be glad to repeat it because that office is clearly ineffective and the taxpayers' money is being wasted with that position. It's fully funded by the county. It was a shell game presented before us, said the more misdemeanors were going to get prosecuted. The only thing we got out of this, we can't get a follow-up on the position of any cases. You don't ever hear explanations of why cases were thrown out. All you ever hear is excuses like, I violated someone's civil rights or constitutional rights, so I had to let them go after 2 years because I didn't understand that they wanted a right to a speedy trial. So is this county liable? Did somebody's civil or constitutional rights may have been violated in that case? And it wasn't $60,000, y'all. It was 1 cent real estate because 2 gentlemen were held for 2 years. That cost this county $120,000, not to speak of the amount of money that we were losing with VCBR residents not getting to a final disposition in a timely manner. That office has cost the county taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's time to draw this back. The citizens want it. So that's a little over $30,000. The $1.4 million that you're going to need, it's going to come from the overpayment of the school, the $2 million overpayment of the school. You take that $2 million back, and I understand the repercussions. What did everybody just sit in here and say, though? Live within your means and hold everybody, hold the shareholders accountable. Okay, so yeah, they're going to lose $7 million if we don't give them $2 million. So total loss of $9 million. That's interesting. Ain't that what the squad just done to us? Come on, y'all. You can't do it to one and not the other. So the thing is, if somebody's going to come in here and back us in the corner, you don't care about the kids. It ain't about the kids. We're asking you to be accountable for the taxpayers' money. Point blank, period. So you take that $2 million, bring it back. Now you wiped out your tax levies for this year. You take the 1.4, you give that over to the squad for that 1.4 million, then you get $600,000 additional dollars out of that $2 million to do something else with. That's just an option. But if we're going to hold one accountable, we need to hold all our shareholders accountable. You've got y'all heard the finance director in here last Thursday say very clearly that they got a grant to address chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism is part of the reason why some of the schools that aren't fully accredited are not fully accredited. So let me ask you this. What did getting the grant do with the money give them to enforce the chronic absence? Are they paying the kids to come to school with the grant? So let's just be honest. What could the physical bodies not do? Because I know the school used to have a heck of a truancy officer. Robbie Roberts was a wonderful man and a hell of a truancy officer. But here's the thing. Does the school now have a truancy officer? I do not know. But why did we have to get a grant for that? She also said that there's probably a grant out there to address bullying. Well, guys, look at the last school board meeting. There was a gentleman in there talking about his kid getting bullied. Mr. Banton and them talking about their kid being treated like she's been treated. Just yesterday, or the day before, talked to a gentleman, his child is having their snacks stolen by other kids. And there was, I know that there was a school board member that wasn't aware of an assault. Did y'all hear what I just said? A school board member was not aware of assault. So, well, I guess it's a good thing they got a new superintendent. And I wish her well. I hope a number of success, because if she's successful, our kids are successful. And that's what the main thing is at the end of the day. But guys, $2 million. All right, so they talk about, these programs that they're going to lose, these programs they're going to lose. You know what? If you go out there and spend credit card bills and can't make your payments and they come take your stuff, whose fault is that? Is anybody else responsible for paying for that? No. All I'm saying is, if we're going to demand, and everybody, just about everybody in here said they want accountability, they want transparency, and here it is. We have to live within our means if we're going to keep taxing people like this. $2 million, that's what, 120,000 per penny, so that's what's it, 8 cents, 9 cents on the tax rate? $2 million? You know what we could also do with that 400,000, that 600,000? Get the money, the 1.4 over to emergency service. Well, you can take this 600,000, y'all ain't gonna believe this, and reduce the tax rate by 5 cents this year. Just an option. Everybody's being held accountable. People got to learn to work within their means. And the bigger thing is, with your fall in student enrollment, what are we doing to get this up? Now, I'm not putting this all on the school board and staff, or it's not. When I say we, I mean we, because we're all Nottoway here. Just like I said last week to Ms. Meyer, what can we do to help y'all? This is not a shell game to cut off here and shove these people aside. We need to figure out how to help them. It's just like if we're trying to teach ourselves to be responsible, you learn how to balance your checkbook. Why the increase for $2 million to start with? Why do we have to go from 32 to 34 million? You know, I'm just asking.
Are you asking to see if we know, John, or telling us you don't know?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
You got to get informed to come on up here and spend a little time over in the side office like we did then. Because I don't spend a lot of hours in there.
Yeah.
More so than I wanted.
Yeah.
By the way, I was just told my little boy who turned 13 hit a ball over the fence. And I'm up here because I love my citizens and my little boy.
Yeah.
So I'm still here, and he just hit a ball over the fence, and I'm still here.
I know your feeling. I was actually campaigning over on Panny Green Road where my daughter hit a grand slam.
So you know my feeling?
Yes, sir. I know exactly, because I stand bald, and that man sit down and gave me a glass of water.
Did he?
Yes, sir.
He needed to.
So, yes, there's been a ton of sacrifices by all of us, but...
Yes, it has.
I think that's it. Let's see. Oh, no, one other thing that Burkeville Fire Department's done. So, Burkeville said that, you know, the $900,000 we're talking about for the extra ambulance, right, to Nottoway, that I believe, if I understood him right, and if I'm off, you know, I apologize ahead of time. I can't remember if Burkeville Fire Department and squad is running $700,000 for the year, or just the squad for $700,000 a year. The whole thing.
Buddy's numbers was about $750
per
squad.
All right, so
24/7.
Burkeville's running one squad for $750 I mean, their whole squad there for
They've got some
770.
volunteers, so they,
Yeah, but they're running it for
They're not full.
750, and the ask for one unit in Nottoway County is $900,000. We got a problem, we got a serious problem. But what I'm also saying is, you cannot go away from this levy. This levy is gonna have to go in place either way. It's just when and how much. This current rate, if we fix this issue, what the citizens just sat here and said and asked us to do, we can fix this without this heavy levy right now. But the levy's gonna have to go in place. We're gonna have to hire some people. It's gotta go in place, but it's how much? And I'll shut up now. I'll digress.
all right. I'd like to thank everybody that came and spoke tonight.
There again, Chairman, I didn't get to do my closing comments, but
Oh, go ahead.
I guess you knew I already yielded them to Supervisor Roy, and I gave him my closing time.
Love you, bud.
Hey, I love you too, John Roy. Listen, I don't have a whole lot to say. It's the last thing I want to do is oppose any more taxes that's what's been imposed on you guys already, just from the reassessment. The reassessment, if we didn't go up on the tax, none. In fact, we equalized coming down on the rate
Right.
because of the reassessment. But it's gonna be reassessed again, and to the Chesterfield County tax rate, if the land over there is worth $100,000 an acre and the land over here is worth $8,000 an acre, that alone is enough to say, no, Chesterfield pays more,
That's right.
a lot more.
Right.
Like, as you said, a penny is like 2.5 or $3
$3
million,
million.
right, to where ours is 120,000. I can tell you how to make $10 million
All right, let's
in
go.
farming, but
Okay.
getting out there and doing it is two different things.
There you go.
Always keep that in mind. I can tell you how to do it really quick, but getting out there and doing it is two different things. I have learned a lot on this board by being transparent with the citizens, being informative to me. Sometimes they give me misinformation, but I have learned not to take it anywhere until I get the facts on it. Not like the fake news media with these big politicians. You know, they talk about, well, you got to fact check it and all this stuff. I do fact check it.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to go and say anything that I don't know what I'm talking about generally. Will I be wrong? Occasionally I will. Sue, I really appreciate you saying the kind things you said tonight about us 5 board members.
I don't say what I don't mean.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, I built you up. Hold on. And I love you. Steve has done an incredible job for us. I think hold on. It's my,
John made a statement that Steve should have been able to answer. Why didn't you do it?
it's my turn. Steve, you had our backing when the previous board hired you. They mentioned it to us. They asked for our blessing on it. You are open-minded. And if you get nothing else out of what you're doing other than being open-minded, you've got more than any administration that I've ever known has been. And I'm not running no previous board down. You was on the board.
Yep.
You was on the board, Mr. Ingram, y'all was on the board. But y'all was either uninformed, but if you go back to that, then I can say, well, it was your fault. You allowed it because the administrator works for the board. The board don't work for the administrator. So, having said that, we're gonna do the best we can for the citizens, Mr. Abbott. I've been here for going on 2 years now, and I've learned a whole lot, and a lot of that's come from folks like yourself. I hope you don't think I scrutinized you by telling you 5 minutes and I didn't do it to nobody else. You brought up the number 5 and it reminded me of it. It's what it was. But I look forward to talking to you, and I appreciate all the numbers and mathematical questions you've got for us. Woodson, always good to see you at a meeting, and everybody else. That's all I got to say. I told you I yielded my time to Supervisor Rowe.
All right, thank you, everybody, coming to speak tonight. Public hearing, not everybody likes to speak in public. We appreciate that y'all had educated yourselves, looked at the information, understood what was happening. Next week,
Thursday.
is when the actual vote will take. We're not voting tonight. So again, just thank you for coming. Use our emails if you have any questions. Call us. It's wonderful to hear from our citizens. With that, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stand up.
I'm gonna